ever thought about. So please share in the comment section, or if you have any questions since yesterday. I wrote down 2 questions that we had that I'm going to cover more in depth today. That was about audience, and it was also about the mindset or the strategy behind running free courses. The repeatable process, absolutely. And that is one of the key, I would say the key wins when it comes to live launching in cycles, is that you're not creating 10 events. You are creating 1 event and you run it in cycles. And tomorrow, when we go more in depth about the content inside of an event and also the sales, we're going to talk about, because one thing that usually comes up when we talk about that is, don't the audience get tired of the content? And we're going to save that to tomorrow because it's a big one. So let's jump in here. And we're going to do first a quick little recap. And we're going to, first of all, I'm going to share, if anyone do not have the workbook, you can download it there. You don't need the workbook, but I suggest that if you don't have it or you don't want to print it out to here, you can go to the replay page, open it up, save it, and then you take notes. And then you put those notes inside of the workbook, because the workbook is going to be worth a lot at the end of this training, because we decided yesterday inside of this room that you were going to implement. And that is going to help you do the implementation. Today, we're going to decide on some things together. And tomorrow, we're going to decide on some things together. But then you also need to implement, because if you don't implement, nothing is going to change. That is what's going to happen, right? You need to do something with the information that you access. How you run the event. Oh, thank you so much. Embody what you teach. And I have actually going to talk a little bit about that today, because we teach what we also do. And I'm going to share quickly before I jump in. When I started online, so for you who don't know me, who are new to coming into the room today, I'm Angela. I'm a virtual event sales expert. And I didn't start out teaching live events. I started out in the health and wellness industry. This was back in 2017. I was a truck driver. I wanted another lifestyle. I wanted to lay on the beach. I wanted to drink pina colada and spritz and have money coming into my bank account. I was sold a wish, a dream, an idea of evergreen sales by people that didn't do evergreen sales to close those sales. Because when I look back on what I know today, so 2020, I pivoted, helping others do virtual events, because I built the India fitness business doing virtual events. But I started out by building an app, and I bought the complete app system. It was an app. It was running ads to quizzes, and depending on the answers in those quizzes, they came in different programs inside of the app. It was a complete system. How did I buy it? In a 5-day challenge. So what I really didn't realize back then, that their sales system was not the sales system that they sold. Their sales system was the 5-day challenge. Now I know that because I can look back and see it, right? But back then I didn't understand it. So that is why I shared my story, because I want you to know who you're listening to. Whatever I share today, been run on a trial and error for years. I learned, I have had a webinar and a 5-day challenge coach. I don't know if that is a term, but he was an expert in building 5-day challenges back in 2000 and at the end of 2017. And I have had other coaches, but I have found my way of doing it, that I have run, I have tried, I have looked at the market. We have been in some market cycles since I started out online, and we continue to run this system and test and see what happens and what response do we get. And then I upgrade my method to meet the market as it is. And we're going to talk about that some today when we talk about how you are going to fill your event with the right people. So I just wanted to quickly share that for you who are new to me. And yesterday, so a quick recap. So yesterday we zoomed out and we looked at the bigger picture. We talked about why I don't want you to see a virtual event, a live launch, as just another webinar or some nice to have or a masterclass. or some other piece of content. I want you to look at it as a complete lead and sales engine, because that is why we build them. Okay. We talked about that we have a connection gap on the market, human connection. This human to human experience is kind of rare, and a trust gap. And how those two gaps can be closed by running these type of virtual events and live launches. We also talked about the fact that people are consuming more information than ever. The accessibility of information is huge, right? But what haven't changed is that even if they are consuming all this information, that doesn't mean they are making more decisions, right? Actually less, because we get overwhelmed by all the information. So we cannot take a decision because we don't know what to make a decision on, right? It's just overloaded. Then we went in and looked at a launch cycle. You have it in the workbook. So we talked about the runway where you promote your launch. We talked about hosting the launch, where you build like, know, and trust with the audience. And that is, we're going to talk way more about that today and tomorrow. Then you open the cart and invite people to join your offer. And that is the sales. So that is the conversion of the event. And then, of course, we talked about something that a lot of people miss that we're going to dig deep in today, and that is the audit and the how to look at the event afterwards and know what to change. Then we compare that to an entire baseline of a business, because a business needs three things to survive: leads, trust with those leads, and turn that trust into paying clients. And a live launch do all these three things at once. So that is what we kind of talked about yesterday. And then we moved in to talk about how do we actually build it out. What are we now going today and tomorrow? Because we are going to look at these 6 steps, how to build out the cycle so you can actually run it on repeat. And the first thing that we're going to talk about today is the audience and offer alignment, to bring the right people into the room and what we are selling to those people. There needs to be an alignment between those two, because the event is the bridge that is going to lead these people into this offer. So there needs to be a perfect alignment. Then we talked about the second step, that is what we call the framework. And the framework is everything that people are going to see before they sign up or attend. So it's your title, it's your event promise, it's what they are going to leave with, the win of the event, what you are going to teach in the event, what they will walk away with, everything people actually see on your landing page. That is the framework. Included in that is something that I asked you to think about today. What type of event? What are you going to do? Okay. When we have built the framework, we can now build the promotion runway. And this is where you're going to invite people to participate in your event. And we call that lead generation, right? And the fourth step, so that was 3 steps, right? We have, just so I don't miss anything, we have the offer and audience alignment, the framework, the promotion runway, and then we have the presentation. The presentation is this. It's what you're going to speak about. Either it's a 45-minute presentation in a webinar, or it's a 2-hour presentation in a masterclass. It can also be a 3-hour presentation, but it's split out on 3 days. It's what you teach, what you share, how you lead people and show up, okay? That is the 4th step. Then, of course, you need to open cart and sell. And the sales doesn't stop just because the camera goes off, because it continues some time after. And that can look different. And we're going to talk about it tomorrow, but it's the sale. And that is the 5th step. And then you can actually run the entire event. But what most people then skip is actually to look at the data of that. What worked? What didn't work? What happened? Did people drop off? Did people not show up? What question did people ask? What did they respond to? What did they not respond to? How is the market changing? Because that is something that a lot of people miss. Okay, what is happening in the market for my dream client? And then you do just small adjustment, right? Small things, improvement, and then you run it again. And then you go back, look at the data, improve, run it again. Every cycle you are going to start master the content. You're going to start mastering the room. You're going to start leading better. And every time it's going to convert higher. So those are the 6 steps. That is how you built it. That is how we built it inside of the Launch Elite that I invited everyone to yesterday. Today, we're going to covering the 3 first steps. Tomorrow, we're going to look at the 3 last steps. Okay. So a quick little follow-up from yesterday, because we talked yesterday, we had 2 questions that I wanted to kind of cover a little more in depth. I answered them at the end, but there was some people had left. So I want to cover it now in the beginning. What if I start with 0 audience? That was one question. I'm just going to say this to you. Waiting doesn't create an audience. It's impossible to create an audience, but just sitting and wait. Hopefully, you're going to grow an audience, because every time you run it, you grow your audience, you grow your list. You can start with a small little network that you have, a small little following that you already have. You can actually launch to 1 person, right? You don't need 500 people. You need 1 person that you can invite if we're going to look really specific on it, right? So don't wait for your audience to grow before you start. Start, execute, learn, run it again. Run it again, run it again. That is how successful people actually operate. They don't wait until everything is perfect. They validate their idea through execution. They don't sit around and wait. So it doesn't matter if you have 1 person in your network or you have 500,000 people in your network. That is not the size that is important. It's who comes into the room. Okay. The second question that I really wanted to talk today about is a little bit of a mindset thing as well. The other question was about creating a free course. I'm going to create a free course. I know that there was a trend, and I am guilty of this trend. 2020, 2021, and I would say in a little bit 2022, we called our 3-day challenges, 5-day workshop programs or courses. So we said, come and join my free 5-day program, because it sounded more valuable. This was a trend. It was a marketing tactic, nothing else. When you, however, joined, it was free information. Back then, however, there wasn't an accessibility of information as it is today. So we could get away with that marketing trend. I can say you cannot do that now, because if you go out and say you're going to run a free program, people expect a free program, because it's not a marketing gimmick anymore as it was before. And this is a very important kind of distinction between these. You can absolutely create a course, right? You can absolutely sell a course, and you can absolutely use an event to sell that course. But the event is not the free version of your course. When you build it as a free course, you naturally, without even thinking about it, make it information-based, right? And that's one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people's webinars, masterclasses, challenges doesn't convert. We are not building free mini courses here. We are building a sales event that is going to convert into paying clients. Your event is a decision room where people are going to make decisions. All this type of decision, not only buying decision, but also saying no, or a decision to do this, a decision to do that. Move people through these decisions. That is what you're creating. You are there to lead them towards a decision they already know that they have to do. Okay? Because information doesn't create transformation. I always say that, decision making does. And we're going to go deeper into decision making content tomorrow. So that is not what I want to cover. But for today, I want you to write down, don't build a free course, build a decision room that leads into your offer. That is also a little bit of a mindset thing, because as soon as you think about it as a free course, you naturally will create it information based, because that is what's going to happen. And information is not going to be moving people. They already have the information, but they still are struggling. So adding more information, they're going to just get more overwhelmed, right? So that is the question that I had for yesterday. So if you want to do a free course, you're now going to say that you're going to do a 4-day workshop, you're going to do a 4-day challenge, 4-day masterclass, a 4-day decision room. Okay, no more terms of free courses. Okay, promise. Right? So up with your workbook, because now we're going to dig into today's content. And if you don't have the workbook, no worries. You can, I can't see the chat. Give me a second. I'm going to hide all the participants so I can see. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Any questions? So most of questions are going to be answered throughout the day. So the questions that I know that I'm going to cover tomorrow, I'm not going to go in and answer them. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't add them in the comment section. All questions should be added here, so I know that you're going to get answered before you leave this workshop. On Friday, I'm going to host a Q&A where you can join the Zoom room, ask any questions, okay? But make sure that you add the questions in the chat, because if you don't ask, you cannot get any replies, okay? So the first thing that is in the workbook is about the shift to actually generate hundreds of leads. And this is lead generation. So now we're going to talk about lead generation, which is one of the biggest things that my audience tell me that they struggle with. So this is something that we work a lot with inside of the Launch Elite. And I want to start with a little bit of the thoughts, the mindset, the thoughts, that part of lead generation, because that is where things actually starts to change. A lot of people think lead generation is about the mechanism of it. What should I post? Which platforms? What strategy should I use? But before that mechanism comes mindset. And you might think that, yeah, mindset is so fluffy. But listen, you need to hear me out on this. Something that we hear all the time is, I don't want to annoy people by posting about my workshop all day. I don't want people to think that I talk about my business all the time. I don't want to be too salesy, something we hear a lot, or slimy or sleazy or pushy. I don't want people to think that I'm pushing something on them. But this is an important shift that I want you to make that is going to flip your lead generation outcome completely. What you do when you do lead generation is a gift to your market. And this is why. You have the solution to a problem that someone is dealing with right now. And your event is a place and a room where you can help them solve that problem. So when you invite people into that room, you are giving them access to a place and a space of solution. Okay? What we do as service providers is giving people access to solution. We do a gift to the market. And you have to care so much about solving this problem that you are solving on the market that you do not stand in your own way by not inviting people. Okay? Because when you do that, you make the entire thing about yourself. And we talked about this a lot in the mindset session. This is not about you. This is about them. They have the problem you can solve. So why are you making it about you? It makes absolutely no sense, right? That is not a service. That is not a service business, right? You when you do that, you start worrying about what people might think, whether you are talking about your business too much or whether you are going to annoy them. And suddenly your fear of being visible becomes more important than the person who actually needs your solution. Okay? And that's when you have to get out of your own way. And I usually say that if you're not handing out those invitations, it's like having a party, but you don't invite any guests. Then you can't get upset being at your party all alone and nobody showed up if you didn't invite anyone. Okay? And that comes together with the second part. So when you understand that if I go out and invite people, I'm a being of service to the market. I'm handing out a gift to people that is struggling with the problem. The second thing is the consistency and frequency of actually doing it. You cannot expect a 10K event if you don't talk about it, if you don't invite anyone, because nobody's going to know that you host this event. You cannot quietly mention it a little bit and then expect that hundreds of people see that little post you did and suddenly it's going to show up. That is not how it works, especially not in this noisy environment that we are actually operating in. When we run lead generation for an event, we decide how many days we're going to do it. And most of our clients inside of the Launch Elite do a 14-day window because it's easy. I'm just going to say that. It's easy to do 14 days. And during those 14 days, we are promoting the event every single day across platforms. Okay? We create lead generation content. We invite people. We start conversations. We give people a reason to come and join us. Because if you want people to know about your event, guess what? You have to talk about it. That is what you have to do. And this is why I always say mindset before mechanism. Okay? The strategies comes after this. Because you can have the best lead generation strategies in the world. There are thousands of them, I guess. We teach about 10, but there are so many strategies. But if you're sitting there afraid to use them, doesn't matter then. You can have all the strategies in the world. Your goal has to be bigger than the fear. You need to be willing, I would say, to hand out those invitations again and again and again. And the energy of handing out those invitations needs to match the energy that you want that event to do for you. If you want to have a really successful event, $10,000s of dollars, you cannot put in $100 over here, like the energy of $100 and expect $10,000 energy back. The energy you project, the invitations you project, that is what's going to come back to you. And that is not how people talk about lead generation, because they only talk about the strategic part of lead generation. Is it important? Absolutely. You need to have lead generation strategies. I have a 6-step framework to write lead generation content that really is built to get people to take action and sign up. But it doesn't matter if you're going to sit there and don't hand out those invitations. That is the shift to fill a room with hundreds of leads. Sounds simple, but it can take a little time because you need to get out of your comfort zone. Okay? If we then look in, so now you know you have the right mindset, because now you know what you do is a gift. You know now that during your lead generation, that is going to be, let's say 14 days because it's easy. I'm going to be there every single day to hand out an invitation in some shape or form. Most of you are on social media, so it can be a social media post and you invite people. How do we then get the right ones? Because a lot of people feel they fill their event with people and they get a lot of applause. This was amazing and it was so valuable, and then people only ghost you. After the event, you lay in bed, you take out their phone, you wait for the notification from Stripe. There is no notification, but you get a lot of DMing from people telling you it was amazing. Then you reach out to them and ask them, okay, are you going to join my program? Ghost you. Why does this happen? So this is what I want to spend a lot of time on today, because it's a huge issue for a lot of people. And this is where I want us to move beyond niching down, because there's a lot of people talking about niching down. Important. You should niche down. That is not a question that we are going to talk about, because that is important. But a lot of people stop there. So they niche down and they know exactly who they want to serve, but then they don't do anything else. And all the content is pushed out to that person. But what I want to challenge you with is, you want to kind of, when you know your niche, you also want to understand the person that is inside of that niche. And this is where I'm going to challenge you here, because this is some work that I want you to do for tomorrow, because I have it in the workbook that I'm going to add a little bit of thinking for tomorrow. Your dream client, what is their current reality? Because if you're going to win doing any type of sales, you need to learn how to operate inside of that reality. That has nothing to do with the niche. Niching down is a segment in a segment in a segment. So you specialize in, let's say, women over 50 in menopause who wants to lose weight, that is working full time, that have children. It's a segment in a segment, right? That is one thing. This has not to do with that. How do these people describe their problems? What do they actually say? What do they feel when the problem come up to the surface? How do they think in the evening when they are thinking about their struggles? What do they wake up feeling tension about, right? Kind of what is staying when they lay in the bed and they can't sleep? What are they thinking? And most importantly, what are their decision-making moments? And a decision-making moment is when that person say to you, I have had enough, okay? I am done. Something just need to change. I am gonna do something and I'm gonna do something about it now. They are very close to saying yes to something, right? What do they say when they hit that point in their life? When they really feel like, oh my God, I'm done. Because it's a different to sell to a person that is sitting there thinking, maybe I should lose weight. Maybe, you know, to someone that says, I need to do it and I need to do it now. If I don't do it now, this and this is going to happen. I lay awake every single night thinking about it. I hate myself when I look in the mirror. Who do you think is the easiest person to sell to? Who is most ready to say yes? Who is the person that is going to get the best result? The person that is done with the situation. Those are the people that you want to invite. Okay? Those are the people that you want to speak to when you go out and do lead generation content. We are talking about lead generation content now, invitations to the event, because there are plenty of people in your niche that have the problem. There are plenty of people in your niche that sit around, they're a little interested, curious. There are plenty of people who might want the results someday, but they are not all in their decision-making moment. And this is where a buying filter comes in. And the buying filter is very simple. Who is actually close to making a decision? And the thing is that the reason why we don't talk to these people is that we are afraid to leave other people behind, right? We are afraid to repel people. And that comes to a lot of people are afraid to niching down as well, right? Because they are so afraid of leaving people out. So if they just broaden, they think that then I get more people. Well, then you get a lot of people that are not going to purchase. The thing is, however, when you repel the wrong ones, you leave room for the right ones. There's space for them and they feel seen. Because the thing is that the people that are not close to a decision, they're going to come anyway. And that is a good thing because they're going to come and they are going to listen, they're going to learn, and they're going to be closer to a yes. Maybe not a yes that time, but in the future. But when you go out and invite to your event, you really want to make sure that you're targeting people that are very close to a decision. You want to speak to those pain points. You want to speak to those problems in a way that they describe them. I could go out and I could say this. Would you like to get more clients? Question mark, comment below. I would get a lot of yeses. A lot of people would say, yes, I want more clients. Are all those people my target market in my niching down? I would say no. Are they close to a decision? I would say absolutely not. But if I go out and I instead say, are you laying there after you have hosted your webinar, opening the phone, scrolling through the Stripe notification, nowhere to be found, and you ask yourself, you start questioning your own ability to host your webinar, and you're not seeing the result of the effort, and the clients are not coming in. It's the same post. Do you need more clients, or are you not getting enough clients? And then a description of how that person actually say when they come to me. That is the same, but one is going to collect people that feel that tension, and one is just going to collect people that someday wants more clients, you know? So that is how you need to learn and get to know your dream clients, so they feel, oh my God, this is for me. Don't be afraid to repel people, okay? And this is where the alignment is so important. There needs to be alignment between who you attract in and the offer that you sell. And that is why we do that the first thing when people come into the Launch Elite, Because if you start attracting people in that is not a perfect match for your offer, you speak to people randomly in your niche and you invite bunch of people that are everyone, like everyone who wants more clients. And then I say, here, come and sell with webinars. 55% of those people would never ever want to do a webinar. Why would I want them in the room? To convince them to run webinars? No, that is not what we do, right? We don't convince people, we convey our message. That should be done outside of the room. It should be a filter before people join, because 50 aligned people will outperform 500 curious browser any day of the week. And that is a huge problem. So think about that when it comes to lead generation. And one thing that I want you to do for tomorrow is to think about, who do you really want inside of that room? Who is the perfect fit for my offer? That if they come and join, they are going to say yes to my offer. Who is that person? That is one of the things that I want you to think about. And that has nothing to do with niching down, because niching down is another thing. And you should do that. But this has to do with actually knowing your dream client better than they know themselves. You can describe their situation so they say, oh my God, she's in my head. That is exactly how I felt yesterday. This is for me. That is what you want. So that is why I say niching down is over here, knowing your dream client and have that filter when you do invitations into your room, something else. So think about that. That is how you fill a room with the right people. Not more lead generation strategies, okay? Not more whatever it is that we do, posts or whatever we do. It's actually looking at who do you want and how can I describe what I do, their struggles, frustration, fears, dreams, desires, in a way that they exactly say, this is me. This is how I would say it. So think about that. Nothing to do with strategies. So when we now understand our dream client and we can go out and speak to those people that are very close to decision, so they feel like, oh my God, they feel really this tension, they really want to solve this problem. How do we get them to actually show up? Because the show up rate, when the world opened up after the pandemic, the show up rate went down the drain, because it was so easy when people were stuck in their homes, obviously, right? We could host a Zoom, or actually back then I did Facebook Live in a Facebook group, like pop-up groups. So I created a pop-up group, I invited people to the group, I streamed with Facebook Live. You had maybe 70-75% show up rate, even if you have a recording. Easy. All of a sudden, 2022, the world opened up, nobody wanted to be on Zoom. And it went down the drain. So we did, of course, a lot of trial and errors on a lot of things. And there's a ton of strategies that you can do. Of course, emails, reminders, countdowns, different follow-up things. There is a lot of things to do, of course, but that is not what I want to talk about. I wanted to talk about something else people never talk about. And this is something I asked you to think about yesterday. Picking the right event. Picking the right event. And the first question you should ask yourself is, what do I actually want to do? Because it's not so much what you do as it is who you are when you do it. Because an event sells on your energy. If you choose an event because somebody told you this is the only event that converts today, okay, and you don't actually want to do that type of event, you are not excited about it. You're not going to share about it because you're not really excited, because you really don't want to do it, but people tell you you have to. You don't feel connected to it. You're going to show up with different energy, and your audience is going to feel that, because the energy you project is the energy you get back, right? So I want you to start with, what do you want to do? What kind of event would you actually enjoy running if you look at them? We have like webinars and masterclasses, anything from 30 minutes to a couple of hours. Yeah, 2-day, 3-day, 4-day, 5-day, 9-day. What type? Just ask yourself, right? What feels, when you think about it, what makes you excited? Okay. Then you ask yourself a second question. What is the best fit for my dream client? because it can't be only about you, right? Because let's say you want to run a 5-day challenge because you love the idea of the 5-day format. That is great. But then you ask yourself the next question. If I decide to do a 5-day challenge, would that fit my dream client as well? Maybe it will, maybe it will not. And let's say I am going to do a 5-day challenge no matter what, but you are targeting a very busy person. Maybe you want to do shorter sessions every day instead. So you need to meet those two together. And that is a thing that most people don't talk about when it comes to show up rate. Because if you target, for an example, let's say a full-time working single mom with small children, and she wants to lose weight, but she don't have the time, would a 9-day boot camp be the best fit? She would be exhausted just reading the word, right? And if you want to do a 9-day boot camp, you need to ask yourself, how can I meet this person where they are? Maybe do shorter sessions could be a solution. So first write down, and this was a homework for today, what event would you like to do? And then look into what would that be a good fit for your audience? Because when you do the right event, and you need sometimes to do trial and error, I'm just going to say it. You might do an event. You think you're going to love it, and then it sucks. And then you say, I will never ever do that again. So the next time you host another event, sometimes it's a little bit of trial and error. But when you hit that mark and it feels good for you and the audience, that increases show up rate. It's way much easier to get people to actually show up. And this isn't about finding one event that works for everyone. I don't actually believe that. I don't believe that there is one format that is a fit for everyone. We have, for an example, Christine, and she runs a business to business thing. And she used the same structure of a masterclass, but she took it to that presentation to a live stage. And then it's not hosted as a masterclass, it's a speak. But it's the same structure. It's just that it's a little bit different depending on the audience. The principle works. How you use them is where you're going to find your own way. And people want to be there, right? They're going to understand why it's going to matter for them. And they're more likely to participate if they feel connected to the format as well. Okay. And then the strategies, of course, is going to support that. That is not a question, because a 5-day challenge is built differently than a webinar, for an example. They look different because you need to get people to show up multiple days. And in the Launch Elite, we have several nurture strategies to choose from to increase the show up rate. That is one part. The reminders, the nurture, the emails, the activation, all that kind of thing. But this is something a lot of people don't speak about, because a lot of people who teach virtual events teach one format, right? They only teach webinars, or they only teach 5-day challenges or 3-day. And I am a strong believer that you need to find your event, because that is how you sell energetically. Okay. So that is a lot of something. And that is why I wanted you to think about that for tomorrow. How do I find the people experience the problem I have the solution for? There is millions of people on social media. You have them here. It costs you absolutely nothing to go out and engage with your target market. They are on all platforms. So you decide on what platform you're going to be on. If you're not on any platform, choose one. I don't believe in putting your eggs in the same basket. So I suggest that people should be on more than one platform. But if you're just starting out, you decide on the platform. And inside the Launch Elite, if you want to use Facebook, we have strategies how to use Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. How to use it to grow an audience and to create content and use the platform specifically. For an example, Facebook have groups. LinkedIn groups, not a fan of, but Facebook groups, love them. Instagram have no groups. So that is a little bit different. But they are in your phone, millions of them, and you just need to go out and speak to them. But choose the platform first, and then it's depending on the platform where you use the strategies to actually use the platform or utilize the platform, okay? That is how you're going to grow your audience as well. And when people are starting to following you, coming into your world, and you create content that speaks to the right person, the wrong people are going to leave. And that is a good thing. And the right people are going to see you. More of the right people are going to see you, and it's going to start growing. But you need to start. It doesn't just say like this, and you have 50,000 followers overnight. It takes some time, but you're not going to sit around and waiting for them. Okay. So now we know, or you know, that how to fill the event with the right people, and also the mindset around lead generation. And we now talked about that the simplest way to increase show up rate is actually to pick an event that you want to do and that is a good fit for your audience. And as I said, sometimes I can say it's going to be some trial and error. I love the multi-day format, right? But I also do standalone like masterclasses, because some people in my audience will not show up for multi-day event. But this is the format that I love the most. The 3-day format is my format, will always be. For Josephine, that is my business partner that is here, for her favorite format is a masterclass, 1 to 1.5 hours, because she thrives on that. So you need to find yours. And sometimes you need to try something in order to actually know it wasn't for you. Okay. So something that I wanted to talk a little bit about before we kind of move on to what we're going to do tomorrow, which is content and driving sales and do sales, of course, is what your event is actually built to do. Because this connects to the question we had yesterday about free courses. Because this is kind of another place where, or space, I don't know the right word for this, space maybe, I don't know, where people get a little bit confused. Your event is not there to teach everything you know. It's very important. If you try to fit in everything you know in a free event, nobody's going to buy. They're going to get overwhelmed, exhausted, and they're going to leave, right? Because it's just based on information, and information is overloaded. They're already overwhelmed before they join the room, right? It's not there to give people a free version of your paid offer. That is not what the event is meant to do. We are going to teach, because that is how you show your expertise. So we are not going to say like not teach anything, but it's a fine line to walk on. And tomorrow we're going to cover more of it, but I want us to just talk a little bit about this. It's not there to prove how much you know. I think we all have been in, I would say webinars is, I think that format is overloaded with this. Webinar brag fests, where the host only speaks about how good he or her is, only speaks about themselves. And I call them brag fests. And that is not your event. We are not building those type of event, because I think this is one of the biggest mindset shift. I don't know if there's a real mindset shift, but it's the way that you think about the event. A lot of people think that your job is to teach, and the more we feel that we don't get things in return, we start teaching more. It's just natural. So the less people buy, the more we teach. And what happens is that the more we teach, the more we overwhelm, and the less people are going to buy. So because a lot of people, when I talk about this, ask me, okay, what can I teach them? What information can I give them? How much value should I pack into this so they feel it was so valuable? But you're not here to be a teacher. And this is just a word that I want you to write to yourself. You are here to lead. You are a leader of the room. You're not the teacher of the room. It's not a classroom. It's a leadership. It's a room where you lead people. You lead them through clarity. You lead them through decisions. You lead them through mindset blocks. You lead them through objections, for example. Your job is to be a leader. Your job is to help them see what needs to be changed, understand why they have been struggling, for example, or why things doesn't go their way, and lead them towards the decision that they already know that they need to make. And all decisions, when I say decisions, it's not just a yes or no for your offer. It's a decision to have clarity. It's a decision to let go of old beliefs. It's a decision to say no. That is also a decision. It's all decisions that is happening when a person lead you. And that's what's make an event a decision room instead of a free mini course. Information, again, write this inside of your head, doesn't create transformation. Decision making does. When someone goes from having no clarity, overwhelmed, to have clarity, what do they decide to do? They decide to act on it. So a decision is made. That doesn't happen if you overload people with information. Your event is there to move people. And this is also why I don't want you to just look at what everybody else is doing. Look at what's actually happening in the market. Your dream clients' reality changes. The way people consume information is changing. Look at the last, I would say, 2 years, how we consume information. Just the last year with all this Claude and ChatGPT, how that have changed how we consume information. Look at what the way that it makes them, how decisions are made, what makes them do these decisions, buying decisions, what is actually happening, how their attention span goes. Now their attention span, I would say, is very short and it's everywhere. We can just look at ourselves when we go on social media. There are so many things going on. And as a business owner, you have to pay attention to that. And I will give you an example from our own launches so you can kind of see how this can happen. We used to run, for an example, 5-day formats or 9-day launches, and we opened the cart very late. So we usually open the cart on day 4. And when I hosted a 5-day, I usually opened the cart on day 4. That is how we run it every single time for years, okay? And when we saw that the result was changing, I didn't say like 5-day challenges doesn't work anymore. I didn't do that, right? I looked at what was actually happening. People wanted to know earlier what the next step was going to be. That is what happened. That is how people start changing. They didn't want to sit around and wait for 4 days until they knew how they could move on, right? They want to know, and then they might consume the rest of the workshop. That is not the question. But they wanted to know earlier when I've gone through, where am I going in this? They wanted to know way earlier. Some people couldn't attend all days. Some people watched the replays. So we started opening the cart way earlier. So instead of saying 5-day challenges doesn't work anymore, we looked at the market, we looked at the behavior of the people that came in, and we pivoted and changed how we did it to match that. I hope you understand what I mean with this. Because I could have just thrown it out the window, but we didn't. But you could see the market changing because you could not see 5-day challenges because this happened to a lot of people. I continue to run them, but we opened cart earlier. That is what happened. Less teaching, more leading. And that is what I mean by saying pay attention to the market. You don't have to throw away the whole module because something is changing. That is not what we do. But you need to understand and look at what is the reality. How is the reality changing for my dream client? And how can I meet them? And that is what a great business person do. That is why you see changes in how people do their strategies. Okay. And when people join, and this is a little bit of a distinction as well. So your event, if you build your event, I would say around what information can I give them, you are going to create an information-based event. I want you to create a decision room. That is why I want to challenge you on this. And not a lot of people talk about this when they teach how to do events because it's only based on strategies. I want this room to think differently. I want you to be a leader. I want you to go out and feel like a leader. I want you to change and show up feeling like this leader. And this is a part of it. Your job is to lead them. You want to create a breakthrough for them. You want them to understand that something can be different in their life and they really believe it. Okay? And that is what your event is meant to be. And tomorrow we're going to talk more about how to create that content specifically to actually drive decisions. What happens when people come in and are skeptic, for example? What happens when people come in believing they cannot do it? How can you move them through that? That needs to be done in your content, and we're going to talk about it tomorrow. And this is also why I want you to pay attention to what is happening in the market and challenge you to do that for tomorrow and ask yourself, what is the reality of that my dream client? So not only think about who you want in the room, how is the reality for them? Have it changed? Have you done something that you now see isn't working anymore? Why isn't it working? Okay, I have a client, by the way, Guinevere. She came to me and she already did events, 2-day events, selling really high ticket offers, and it stopped converting. And we didn't throw her 2-day event out the window. We actually just clarified her message and she ran it again with a different message. And she closed one high ticket client in the first one. I think she had only 21 people signed up. Then she ran it again, exactly the same, because we didn't have so many people, so there was not enough data. So exactly the same event, and she closed 2 more. We didn't throw the entire event. We just looked at it and said, okay, these people that you now want in the room, how has their reality changed and how do we need to speak to them to get them inside of the room? That is all. Okay, but today I want you to understand the purpose. You are not creating a free course, you're creating a decision room that leads into your offer. And there is one more thing that I want just a little bit cover before we go plan your runway, and you're going to do some work for tomorrow. Once you have built your event and you start running it, you are going to find your way of doing it. Because what I teach here is how to build a sales event that convert. Exactly step by step. When you run it in cycles, that is why I don't want you to copy anyone right off the bat that you see. You join an event and you copy exactly what they do, because they are not you. I speak in my way, you speak in your way. My personality is my personality, your personality is your personality, right? We are all different people. We built events that convert, which means the entire framework and how we get people in the room, how we lead them, how we sell, how we do the marketing part, how we do and create a cycle that actually convert. Then you're going to run it and you're going to see that you find your way of doing it that works perfectly for you. And you're going to find your style. And this is the stages in the journey that is so beautiful to becoming someone that can speak and sell, that I talked about in the mindset session. So if you want to explore more around that, go back to that session. It's on the replay page, because everybody goes through stages. So when you have the strategy in place, that is when it really starts converting. And then you're going to run it again. And then you're going to start looking at yourself again and ask you, how can I elevate being the better leader of the room? And that is where you're going to find your way of doing it. And something else I want to mention when it comes to the Launch Elite, we don't build events where you need a 20-person team. We built you to be able to run this as a one-man show. I did this as a one-man show for years, right? But I was also a partner in Amy Porterfield's launch for 2 years. Her team was 20 people. 20 people. That is why going out and copy what she did and try to run it as a one-man show is going to be exhausting. That is why a lot of people have experienced very exhausting launches, because they go out and copy someone that sits with a sales team. They have social sellers. They have a lead generation department or whatever you call them. They have a sales team. They have people that do the calls. They have people that answer the questions. They have people for everything. Trying to copy that concept, that way of launching, exhausting. That is not what we do. We built them so you can actually run them on your own if you would like to. If you don't have anyone, you can do what we do. You learn the method, you built your version when you have run it multiple times, and you're going to find your way. Then you can go out and start doing huge launches if you would like to. But that is not what we do inside of the Launch Elite. I want to mention that because people might think we have huge teams. We do not. Okay. So I want you to take out the workbook. This is some work that I want you to do for tomorrow. So make sure that you write down who do you want in your event. Write down what you're going to sell if you haven't decided that yet, you have in the end of today's, there is a runway plan, event plan segment. You can write it down there. Really ask yourself, what event would you like to run? Because not all events are created equally. There are pros and cons of different events. Multi-day events requires you to hold energy multiple days in a row. I love it. For some people, it's not. Shorter events, you have just one go. For example, it's the con of a webinar because there is no second day where you can kind of catch up or something. So it's one day and everything lays on that day. So that is a con. The pro is that it's easy to hold energy for an hour. Everybody can do it. So think about what do you want to do. And then I want you to look into your calendar and just see when would you like to run it. Just, is it October? Is it November? Just a month, nothing else, not dates and things like that. Because tomorrow we're going to look more in depth how it actually looks time-wise. But just have a feeling, because you added a goal yesterday and I want you to start working towards that goal. If we don't work towards a goal, it's going to be very hard. And this put the pieces together, okay? So the Launch Elite, I want to talk quickly about that. So you can now see this, how it actually can work for your business. Yesterday, I shared a calculator. It was a spreadsheet, but it was a calculator. That is added on the replay page. I really want you to use it. Create your own copy of it, add your own numbers so you can actually see what it can do for you and your business with your own numbers, not my made up numbers, your own numbers, okay? You're not building 50 events, you are building one event and you're gonna run it in cycles. You're gonna optimize it, you're gonna improve it, you're gonna run it again. And that's what I want you to see. What would that event actually be able to do for your business? And that calculator is very easy to use and you can actually visualize it. So you can visualize the goal that you put yesterday. And that is exactly what we do inside of the Launch Elite. You get the frameworks, the templates, you get the scripts, you get all the resources to actually build it out. We have, for an example, lead generation framework, content, copy and paste, where you just add your things and they are built to get people to take action. So you can use those 6 and you can cycle them and you just add your workshop in them. You get the framework to write the launch script, what you're actually going to say, how you lead the beginning, the middle part, and how to do the sales invitation that we're going to talk about tomorrow. We have landing page templates. You can just copy and paste. So you don't need to build anything from scratch. I have a GPT to brainstorm titles because titles, a lot of people get totally stuck in titles. We have template, script, resources. So you can actually build the thing and run it at the same time together with us. You are not building it and then bye-bye, go off and see how it works. We are building it in real time and running it in real time because it's an implementation program for 12 weeks. You have my support every day. You have Josephine's support every day. She's here, my business partner. And we go through the whole thing with you. You build your launch, you get it ready, you actually run it, and then we look at the data. And you also get a one-to-one with me that you can use anytime, either in the beginning or whatever you need support on. It's a 90-minute one-to-one session. And what is different with this is that we are there when you host the event, when you do the sales, so you get instant feedback and support. Because sometimes it can be hard when you do it, you build it, and then you go out on your own, never run it before, and then something happens and you have no one to ask. I want you to have support in the minute as you go. That is why it's an implementation cohort that runs over 12 weeks. It's also very small because we are going to be there supporting you. So I'm only taking in 10 people in each cohort. Next cohort doesn't open until the next year because we run now 12 weeks. At the end, we're going to celebrate. We are going to promote your launches to our audience, which means the next one is not going to start until next year, maybe March maybe April or something like that. So this is the opportunity to get our support to actually build it out. We built different events, so we're going to talk about what type of event we decide together, the pros and cons, we work your way through it. You decide on an event and we built everything together. You also get the spotlight at the end, everybody gets that, the one-to-one, and lifetime access to the entire training portal, including updates. Because now I hope you understand that I do this, the same thing that you are going to do, okay? I see the market changing. That is, I need to update whatever we do inside the Launch Elite, which means all the updates that comes along, you get them as well, right? Because I do exactly what I teach. I do all the trial and error, of course, so you don't need to do that. So when we feel like we did with the 5-day challenge example, I took that to my clients because I have hosted several events and moved the open cart date to earlier. I took that to our clients and I said, okay, you who do these type of events, this is what we need to do because the market have changed, okay? To join for the 12 weeks is $2,497. There is an investment plan, so you can split the investments. When you join, so Josephine is going to share the link. When you join, you have instant access, but we kick off together 7th of September. I'm going to host a little bit of a, I don't know what you're going to call it, kickoff party, something like that before that. But the first session where we're going to talk about the alignment, how to understand your dream clients' decision-making moments, how to know this person inside and out so we know exactly we get the right people in the room, starts September the 7th. Then we work together for 12 weeks, okay? So thank you so much for today. I'm going to just see if we had any questions that we might want to do. If I do a live event, sorry, in my Facebook group, does that event stay in the group as a post? So Facebook changed. So if you do Facebook Live, it's just there for 30 days. And then Facebook remove it. So Facebook Live is removed after 30 days. That is a Facebook thing. But you can absolutely do it because it doesn't matter if it's removed. What I do, so I also do pop-up groups with streaming live events, is that if I want the recording to stay, I stream using Zoom or I stream with Facebook Live, and then I download the recording and then I upload the recording if I want it to stay. But Facebook remove live streams after 30 days, okay? You cannot join tomorrow. No worry, Edith. I will send out. If you have any questions that you want me to cover tomorrow about sales and things like that, send them to me or add them in the community. If you have any questions coming up, use the calculator. Many thanks. Great. We have the Launch Elite link there. So just making sure we don't have any more questions. No. September 7th, we kick off this cohort. And remember, it's a small cohort with high level support. That is why it's so small. That is why we don't take in more than 10 people inside of the cohort. And just think about what it can do for your business if you build this event together with us and then you run it in cycles as you have done in the calculator. Now you're going to go and use that and plan it out and get our support to do it. Because the beauty is that you have lifetime support to the community. So when you run the next one and something is happening, you can ask questions even if we are not in the 12 weeks. Isn't that beautiful? Right? Nobody is left behind. We are going to be there for you. So thank you so much for today. Do your little homework, challenge yourself for tomorrow. And tomorrow we're going to focus completely on sales, both how to move people through decisions inside of the content, because that is how we make sales, but also when we move into the official invitation or pitch at the end of the event. We're going to talk about that and remove all the ickiness around that. So thank you so much for being here with me live today, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye.